if you're very nervous and if you're somebody that they can't really gel with, you already lose half of your chance. I applied it in the interview like, oh, I'm gonna have full working rights in growing massively. Financial planning, accounting, finance, it's just gonna keep growing.
Alright, hello, welcome back to another video on this channel. Firstly, thank you for all the love that I'm getting and for all the requests around certain occupations, around certain videos that I should be making. From his attire, it's evident that we're going to be talking about finance. This is my friend Yash, who I've connected with, particularly on LinkedIn.
Yes, we
because
did. Yes.
Out of all the people in finance, you're the one who posts on LinkedIn about financial meetups, around financial groups, and about what sort of work you're getting onto.
Yep. So my name's Yash. I did my master's in finance, but a very niche topic, which is financial planning, is what I did. I did it from UniSA. I was actually in Mumbai. I was studying there in finance as well, working in finance. So it seemed like a very good transition to come to Australia. Why I chose Adelaide or why I chose South Australia is like a forced decision on me, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to do masters in finance. I wanted to do something that's very niche, and I had one of my friends who did his masters in finance as well, from Deakin University in Melbourne.
Got it. And was this Geelong or Central Melbourne?
Central Melbourne. So he did it from Central Melbourne, and he wanted to get into financial planning. So he was telling me as to what difficulties he faced into getting into financial planning. When I looked up different degrees as to what I need to do in Australia, UniSA was the only degree that was offering me like masters in financial planning, which was compliant with the legislation here, because you do have to finish certain subjects in Australia to be officially registered as a financial advisor. So, and being the only uni that was offering that, it was a pretty straightforward choice for me.
So what is out there in the market? Is UniSA, Uni Adelaide, which is now Adelaide University, the only option that people can go for, or are there other comparative universities, other comparative cities that people look at?
So it depends on what you're actually looking for. If you're looking for jobs, particularly in finance, I'll say Adelaide is a really good city to be in. Adelaide has a lot of finance opportunities. There are less opportunities probably for IT and everything else, but the finance, definitely there's a lot of financial planning companies, there's a lot of accountants in Adelaide, a lot of banks. But when you talk about uni, there's different sections that you can do. You do masters in finance, or you can do something like me, which is masters in financial planning as well.
Got it.
And every stream leads to a different outcome. So if you do accounting, you can either be in auditing or you can be a straightforward accountant.
Got it.
If you do masters in finance, either you can be an equity analyst, you could be joining as a broker, you can get into real estate industry, and those are the different sorts of things that you need to be aware about as to what you need to do to get where you want to be.
Got it. But let's dive deep a little bit into your experience, right?
Right.
We'll make this video as universal as possible.
Right.
So talk about what your uni experience was like.
So I started my uni almost 3 years back, but I started while I was in India because there were some restrictions and the visa were actually getting delayed. So I did a couple of months in India, which was very nice. I was getting my food in my hand. I don't have to do laundry. I don't have to do the rest of it. So I did a couple of months there, was studying really hard. Came to Australia 2 months into my uni degree. Came to Australia with the mindset of not wanting a job for the first 2 months. I know people will say, oh, how are you going to manage expenses? I lived frugally. But what I did was, I wanted to see how Australia is, how the culture is. I know I was leaving a different country. I was coming to a country where the culture is completely different. I wanted to assimilate myself first into the culture before getting into the thick of it, which actually worked out to be very well. I learned how people interact with each other, what works, what doesn't work. And couple of months in, when my bank savings were just going down, I was like, now is the time I need to start finding a job. Even when I was looking jobs as a part-time, I was looking for jobs which have transferable skills, which is because I wanted to become a financial planner and it's about talking to people. I wanted to get into a job where I'm doing that on an everyday basis, at least in Australia, because my job is pretty much talking to Australians. So I wanted to make sure I'm on point. know what the lingo is, how to actually talk to them.
Exactly.
Which was something I always looked forward to as well. But when I got the job for Optus, I felt like that was the right decision to be made, because that is a job where I'm talking to people, where I'm selling them products, in a sense where I'm trying to talk to them what kind of phones they are looking for, trying to ask those right questions, and then giving them a solution. So, which worked out very well in my current industry as well, and that was something I look forward. What is a job that's gonna help me get my next job?
Got it.
That was the main motive behind finding a job always. Like, what's gonna get me to the next step?
Got it. While I ask you to take a sip of
Yeah,
your coffee,
sure.
because so that it doesn't get cold, I'll talk about a couple of points. Right now, I mean, it's very interesting to hear his perspective, because a lot of people do not take that time to assimilate themselves into the
Yes.
culture. You know, it's mostly all the pain points: accommodation, job, full-time job, rent,
is.
etc., etc. But I think, in retrospective, in a holistic sense, that groundwork that you did for 2 months, be that befriending local Australians or
Exactly.
knowing about the culture,
Exactly.
does pay off somewhere or the other, because at the end of the day, you're going to be working here. You're going to
Yes.
be working in this culture.
Yes.
Okay, it can be the fact that you are working with people from your culture, from your country, but somewhere or the other, in your 10 year, 20 year, 30 year journey, you are going to interact with people
Yes.
who are from here. You're going to understand the culture, and you have to blend in, even just a little bit, right?
100%.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritties of the degree, of
Right.
what you actually learned.
Right.
So, you know, talk about if you were taught certain platforms, certain terms, certain things that are now helping you in your full-time job.
Finance. A lot of people might think it comes down to numbers, but it definitely does not. Finance is a very broad aspect. Finance can be either your personal finance, which is your personal behavior towards money. Finance could be about accounting, which is a pretty straightforward, rule-based subjects where you follow certain rules and you get to an answer. But then there's finance where you are an analyst, which is all about numbers. When it comes to uni, I think the most important subjects I learned was learning how taxation in Australia works. What is superannuation?
Yeah.
A lot of students are very confused when it comes to superannuation. They probably have 5 accounts by the year 3.
Are those transferable terms, transferable skills that go on to your full-time job? Because I'm just trying to understand
They do.
you learn, you know, whether you learn how to operate a couple of platforms in uni as well, which are then required for you
Yes.
to start applying for jobs.
Yes.
and-
So
what are they?
Yeah, I had a subject called like investment analysis kind of a subject, which taught me how to work a certain software which is called Xplan, which is used in my industry, and there's a couple of other software such as Zero, which is used in accounting. So we were taught that we literally had assignments which were based solely on
lovely.
that.
Yeah.
So to have that in your uni subjects, which you can actually put it on your resume when you're going up for job interviews and telling them, yes, I have already done those things.
That's
I've
good.
at least used it.
Yeah.
I've used it basically twice in uni, but you can at least tell them that I used it. You're familiar with it. Was a major plus point.
So you have some sort of a portfolio going on for you.
Some sort of portfolio. Everything that I did was how can I market this? How can I market what I'm learning into my resume, and how can I market that while I'm going for interviews?
Exactly.
So you learn everything that needs to be learned in uni, but to apply them is the basic, I think, criteria when it comes to going for job interviews.
But let's talk about full-time jobs. In very brief, how was your experience like?
My experience wasn't that difficult, to be honest. But just to go back to your point about soft skills, the thing that a lot of students miss is when you're actually applying for, let's say, job interviews in Australia, and when you're actually going for the interviews, they're going to ask you technical questions. Yes, you need to know the basic of the job that you're going to be doing. But every recruiter, every person, every senior person that I've talked to in each of the companies that I meet, they look for somebody who's culturally more fit.
Especially when it comes to this sort of an industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My industry or any, like, you're going to be spending 7 to 8 hours with a person in a day.
Yeah.
You want to be comfortable around them. You want to make sure that they are comfortable around you. And if you don't show that in the interview, if you're not, if you're very nervous and if you're somebody that they can't really gel with, you already lose half of your chance.
Yeah, got
Because technical skills are something that can be taught on the job.
What was your full-time job experience
Okay,
like?
yeah. Sure.
When did you start applying? What was, the success rate like?
Right.
Did you do anything else other than just your resume, cover letter?
Yeah.
Talk
Okay,
about-
I'll just start from the beginning. If you guys already know, I started with Optus. That was a job which was very nice. It paid me really well because there's commission involved. I did as best as I could in that job. Did my year in Optus, which was very nice. And I didn't really plan it like that, but after a year I was thinking about, I really needed to get into a finance industry, whether it be a part-time job, casual job, because my thinking was, I've done Optus, I've got some transferable skills for my actual career in financial planning, but now I need to get into finance, how to get my first step into the door. So I started applying for a lot of jobs in finance, like casual jobs, because as students we can only work on a restriction-based hours.
Were there a lot available when it comes to casual part-time jobs for people in finance and accounting? Is there a lot of success rate?
No, there's not many part-time jobs. For me, I timed it in a sense where how we get uni breaks.
Yeah.
In uni breaks, we have like 3 to 4 months of uni break almost, where we can work full-time. So what I did was after my first year in uni, I knew I was going to get a break of 3 to 4 months. And what major organizations have problem hiring students in, let's say, finance or any industry is because we have restrictions on the number of hours we can work, they can't really train us.
Yeah.
That is the reason that they're very hesitant in applying, in actually getting you
Onboarding
on board.
someone,
Yes,
yeah.
onboarding someone, because they're afraid that you're gonna not get those skills as quickly as possible.
Yeah, got
so
it.
what I did was, when my break was gonna start, I kept applying before that. Luckily got into First Mortgage Services, which is a mortgage industry-based company. Gave my interview, they asked me what my restrictions are. I told them I'm gonna be able to only work 24 hours. But when I gave my interview, my uni break was going to start in 15 days. So I told them in 15 days,
You can work
I'm going to
full-time
work
for
full time. So
3-4
they were
months,
very happy. They were like, yes, let's do it. Let's make it sure that you work full time for the first couple of months, 3 months. So because even after that, when I go part time, I'll still have those skills very learned in my brain. I'll have those in my muscle memory, and which worked well. Started my job in First Mortgage Industries, applying for jobs. Just keep applying. Just keep applying. I probably applied for more than 100 jobs.
While you were still a student?
Still a student. Work for the first 3 months I was working part-time, working full-time, which was a settlement officer. So my job was to talk to brokers, mortgage brokers, talk to solicitors, and make sure that they are on the same page.
Got
so
it.
I was actually working for banks. So
Yeah.
I'm doing their compliance check. Like First Mortgage Services was a third party for them. So banks used to appoint First Mortgage to do their third party verifications. So I worked there for 4 to 5 months, no, 6 months in total, but I started applying for a new job because I was going to finish my uni in the next 8 months. So before graduating, I think I started applying 3 months before I graduated.
Got it.
Got another interview 25 days prior to me graduating. Like, I remember the dates. It's like 11th November was my last exam date.
Yeah.
And went in for interview in October. Gave my interview. They were happy with it and kind of lied it in the interview like, oh, I'm gonna have full working rights in 1 month, which is true.
Technically true,
but
yeah.
why to show them that you are on a restricted visa? I told them I have full working rights and they were happy, and I was like, I'm going to finish my exam on 12th November.
I did the same thing.
So and I started my new job on 13th of November.
Got it.
And
Lovely.
I started in financial planning at that stage, worked as a client service manager for a year. When working as a client service manager, obviously I got my foot into the door. wanted to get into financial planning, but again, I wasn't on the pathway to become a financial advisor.
Yeah,
So had a very honest conversations with my boss at that stage. I was like, hey, I want to become a financial advisor. She knew that. And because we were very good friends outside of her being my boss, she told me that she can't really give me that opportunity. And in that stage, she knew I was applying for different jobs.
Okay.
She was very supportive of that fact. She was like, you keep applying for jobs. Kept getting interview calls. Every time I used to go for interview, every time I used to crack that job, I used to go back to her and I'd be like, hey, I got this job.
Is this a good fit for me?
Is this a good fit for me? And she was very honest with that. And if people see that in you, if they see that you're very passionate about something, they are going to help you get there.
And transparency, I think that's a very big thing.
And if they're not helping you, they're probably not good boss.
Exactly.
And she was, fortunately in my case, she couple of jobs she told me straight away, don't do these jobs because the company's not good. Finally got the job where I'm currently working, which is Coastal Advice Group. I'm working as an associate advisor there, doing my professional year. She told me, yes, go for it. And now I'm working in the industry that I love, doing what I love. I've always told everybody that I've met is keep doing the right thing over and again. Patience is the key. But if you keep doing the right things again and again on an everyday basis, eventually you're going to get the right results.
Got it.
Yeah, it's sticking to the process.
Since you're talking to a lot of people in the industry, right? And this is going to be seen by prospective students or even current students. Talk about some finer details on what are they doing wrong. Because then, you know, it gives people a perspective of, okay, I will not do X, I will not do Y. Be that, you know, not starting early.
Not starting early, yes, definitely. They think they are going to, they focus on what's happening right now. They focus, if they're in uni, they're going to focus on their studies, which is good. But studies is not going to give you a job. It will eventually teach you the technical skills, but I always keep thinking in the future. Like, if tomorrow I want to transition into a different role, I'll start working towards it right now.
Okay, so not starting early, not having the right connections.
Not having the right connections, not going for networking events. I'll say put yourself out there, take feedback.
Cool. So we've talked about your personal network, right? Let's talk a little bit about the industry altogether. What is the job market like right now? Is it getting saturated like IT, data, or are there a lot of opportunities available?
It's growing massively. Financial planning, accounting, finance, it's just going to keep growing a lot over the next coming years, mainly because of superannuation and retirement funds, which is an Australian retirement fund. For the fact that everybody gets paid super, it's a compulsory thing for employers to do. Make sure you guys are getting paid that. But so it's gonna keep growing. Australia is a big financial hub now. That is something that I look forward when I was in India as well, because Australia is still getting into the thick of it. Right now, Australia has $4.2 trillion in superannuation. That's almost the GDP of India. Right?
And it's always said that Australia is always like 10, 15 years behind of what is happening in the other countries.
And India is massively ahead when it comes to people investing, and people here are having a laid back attitude. They don't really care as to what's happening. But when it comes to job opportunities, definitely there's a lot of jobs in finance. There's ample of opportunities. You just need to know when to target them. When you come here, make sure that you know what you're going to do, have your goals ready, have your objectives ready, and once you're clear in your head as to what you want to be achieving, the pathway actually becomes a lot clearer.
And if I go into the nitty-gritties of it, and feel free to answer it from experience from people that you've talked to, right? Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. If you were to redo everything again, knowing what you know right now, where would you go? Where do you see it booming, both from a job, career, and also, very importantly, from a PR perspective?
If I want to talk about PR, I'll still do it from Adelaide. Obviously, we get 5 more extra points from doing it from Adelaide. Adelaide has a lot of finance opportunities, so I wouldn't change anything in that regards. I've been to Melbourne, very chaotic for me. Melbourne has a lot of opportunities when it comes to finance. Sydney has a lot of opportunities. The difference is the massive difference in wealth. Adelaide is getting wealthier. People from different states are actually selling down properties and coming to Adelaide because they want to have a laid back lifestyle. And they know now that if they sell a property in Sydney, which is $2 million worth, they can easily get probably the same property for $1 million here and still have $1 million in bank account.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but definitely job opportunities are available for people who look for them. To rank cities, I'll say Sydney is the biggest when it comes to finance, accounting, everything else, real estate, because it's just massive.
Yeah.
Second is Melbourne. Third, I'll say, is Brisbane, because a lot of students, even from Adelaide, actually move to Brisbane because it's bigger than Adelaide.
Yeah.
And the fourth is Adelaide. In terms of job opportunities, they are bigger, but when it comes to PR, look at what you're doing, look at the ANSCO code, look at if the skill is actually demanded in the industry. So either you're going to be stuck with a job that you don't like but it's going to give you PR, or either you're going to be doing a job that you love which is not going to be a PR. And life is all about trade-offs. You can either get one or you can get the other. If you're getting both, well, you got the best of both worlds then.
So in finance, is there a sweet spot where you can work alongside a designation and still be eligible to apply and get the PR, even though at a delayed rate, but still get a PR?
You won't know your pathway unless you talk to a person who has been on that journey. And that's something I've done constantly, because let's say if I want to get a PR in equity analyst, I look up on LinkedIn if there's a person who is an equity analyst in Australia, probably in Adelaide or Melbourne, and I'll talk to them as to how they did it. Like, did they go through nursing and got their PR and then got into equity advising, or did they something else, or did they just get it? So just understanding how it works. Nobody knows how to get a PR. You learn everything that you need to be learned.
So is it safe to say that finance and accounting are very big umbrellas, and under there are a lot of designations and occupations that have different ANSCO codes.
ANSCO codes, yes.
And so a good way or a good advice would be to obviously do of Masters of Finance Accounting. Then while you're studying, go to a migration agent and look at which ANSCO codes are getting more invites and try to align them with their interests. Is that a good way forward?
So there's something called skilled occupation list, which gives you the skilled which are currently in demand in Australia, which is easy to look for. It gets released every 6 months. You can look it up if there's something that you like in terms of job. It could be in finance. You can actually get a PR easily through mortgage broking, and that was something I was contemplating when I graduated. I was like, is financial planning going to be very difficult? Am I not going to become an advisor? What if that happens and I fell in love with this country? I don't want to leave this country. What am I supposed to do?
So last question for today. We obviously ranked different cities according to the job opportunities and along the industry. And obviously I'm tooting the same horn of PR again and again because we've talked about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, for a lot of people that is a pain point, right? So if we were to rank cities on the basis of, okay, if I go there and try to align my interest with different ANSCO codes, it is more likely to get a PR. How would you be ranking the cities?
The thing is, job opportunities doesn't equal to getting PR opportunities. So when it comes to job, as I said, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, I'll say it's completely different when it comes to PR. I'll say regional states, I'll start from Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne and Sydney.
Got it.
Because the more competition you have in each state, the more
people
chances that you are not going to get it.
Exactly.
So I'd rather get it from a niche state. I'd rather apply with 100 people rather than applying with 1,000 people.
Exactly.
So again, there's a trade-off. Trade-off where if you want to get a good job, then yes, you can work in Sydney, Melbourne and those states. But then you're going to wait longer for PR. Or you can find a job which is going to pay you a bit less in Adelaide, but has a better perspective of getting PR.
Got it.
But when people come to Australia, they sort of make their first state as their home, as Adelaide is mine. But don't be stuck on it. You have to keep making changes to your life. I know it's going to be hard, but if you don't do that, then if you don't step out of your comfort zone, then there's no growth, basically. Yeah.
All right. Conclusion. Any last pieces of advice? Started training also.
Last piece of advice for students who are coming here would be believe in yourself. I believe every student that comes here with a good heart of doing well has the potential to reach where they want to be reaching. Every person that I talk to, I tell them to believe, because you guys have done something most of the people here have not done, taken the biggest risk. So now that you have done it, put everything that you can in it and just go for it. Yeah.
Lovely. That has been a very insightful video. Around 50 minutes where we've talked about finance. I'll obviously be breaking down, getting rid of all the fluffs. But for people who are wanting to get that longer version, reach out to me. I'll send you the link to the drive where we've talked a lot about mindset around finance and around being an international student altogether.
Yeah.
I'll put a link. I'll put a link to his LinkedIn profile down in the description below.
Happy to reach.
So feel free to reach out to him.
Happy to help, yes.
For advice around finance, around how to break a job, or around mindsets of an international student.
Yep.
With that, I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah. See ya.